Ladies and gentlemen, if Mitt Romney were the nominee last year, Republicans wouldn't even have received 60 million votes, which is the number of votes they got in 2012. There was no way that any other person aside from President Trump could have received a greater percentage of non-white voters, that is a fact, than any Republican in the past 60 years. That's according to Newsweek. Now, if you want to say, well, there's one statistic, there's one journalist says, well, that's not true. Actually, George W. Bush got a greater percentage. Fine, well, okay. George W. Bush didn't have to contend with 92% negative media coverage. Democrats have every conceivable advantage possible. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Trevor Noah, Jimmy Fallon, every single late night SNL, entertainment in general. You can't even enjoy yourself in the United States of America. You can't go to a concert. You can't go to the theater. You can't watch late night. You can't go on social media without having to deal with contempt leveled against Trump for 4 years. Why don't you go back and look, ladies and gentlemen, for the people who say, oh my God, Trump presided over, the tragedy in January, which was horrendous. What was Madonna saying 4 years ago? What did she want to do? I can't even, YouTube policies won't even allow me to repeat what Madonna and what, I think it was Peter Fonda, who else? All of these people. #wrong Trump when Donald Trump's brother passed away. You're talking about Democrats say, well, you know what, the era of civility is over because of Trump. They never gave him a moment's rest, a day where he could be president, be treated like a president. They poked and prodded. Now, Trump gave them what they wanted. We're getting to Lindsey Graham in a second. Lindsey Graham is interviewed by HBO or Axios, and he's basically saying, oh, well, Trump can make the GOP stronger, or you know what, he can ruin it. And he's talking about President Trump's influence on the Republican Party, which is why I started with Mitt Romney. Republicans will never again be treated in the same manner that Romney and Bush were treated by media. Media, Democrats, Hollywood, intelligence operatives, they have a pretty good roadmap, pretty good blueprint on how to defeat any Republican not named Trump. Jeb Bush would have been annihilated by Clinton. Clinton would have defeated any Republican aside from Trump. Trump is Clinton's kryptonite. And Democrats would absolutely love to face anyone else other than Trump. I mean, look, we have President Biden now. President Trump lost. But in 2024, Republicans only have Trump. And in 2022, the House of Representatives will be, every never Trump will be primaried. And rightfully so. Populist policies are good policies, generally. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Not many people, I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet according to the Huffington Post. The unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters according to the Washington Post. There's a direct line between Bernie Sanders and Trump. I've been telling people that for 3 years now. Nobody gets that. Nobody understands because Bernie Sanders became a tool of the Democratic Party. Maybe he always was. Maybe he just was always just there for appearance. he is there right now. He exists politically, along with AOC, to funnel votes back into the Democratic Party. But hit subscribe right now to this channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. My Patreon is below in the pinned comment and description and on hagoodman.com. If you want to support my voice long term, your support via Patreon is extremely, extremely important. I have live streams usually in the evening, so be here for the live stream later this evening. If you want to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post Salon, The Jerusalem Post, other publications, go to hagoodman.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Lindsey Graham has the wrong viewpoint. All these Republicans, they're deceiving themselves. They're tricking themselves into thinking that they actually have a functioning political party at the moment. Democrats don't really have, like when they say an umbrella, a tent, the Democrats are not really, Democrats are a political machine. They're a finely tuned political machine that runs on the same thing Tammany Hall ran on, which is honest graft and just good old-fashioned bribery and graft. But honest graft, like, if they need a book deal, no problem. They'll definitely get a publisher. Oh my goodness. They'll get favorable news coverage. Any of their scandals or controversies. I mean, who's talking right now about, what's his name, Eric Swalwell, falling in love with a intelligence operative of another country? Nobody's talking about that. Could you imagine if Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. or Jared Kushner? Oh my God. Nobody's talking about Eric Swalwell. Nobody's talking about Dianne Feinstein stock trades. You can go on forever. Richard Burr, Republican, Senate Republican, went after Trump. No one's talking about his stock trades also. I mean, if you're a never-Trumper, if you're a Democrat, you have every possible advantage. Well, the Democrats have every possible advantage. They have Hollywood, all of media. The second, look, when President Biden stated, which is the most, like, racist and horrible thing you could say. I mean, this is a man who wrote the crime bill. And President Biden, when he was interviewed by Charlemagne the God, stated, "You ain't black if you don't vote for him." That's what President Biden said. If Trump had stated that, it would have been the end of the world. Literally an hour after he stated that, probably like less than an hour, maybe an hour or two, the Washington Post, every publication said, well, Trump is worse. It's okay. You know, the public relations, the spin immediately was, it's okay, Trump was worse. You know what? And that's Democrats for you. They circle the wagons when it comes to public relations. The Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Rolling Stone, Mother Jones, The Nation, Time Magazine, pretty much almost every publication. I mean, you have wonderful publications like The Federalist and the Washington Examiner, and I've been published, hopefully soon, eventually in the Washington Examiner. That's a great publication, but I've been published in the Daily Caller, the Federalist, so you have some conservative publications. But every major political, every major publication is an extension of the Democratic Party. Without Trump, the Republicans would never win. And you need the electricity, the enthusiasm, and there's a genuine element to President Trump. He's real. He's honest. A lot more honest than Bill Clinton or President Obama or George W. Bush. A lot more honest. The obsessed fact-checking journalists never go after Democrats. There's a litany of things that they lied about, and their lies are grandiose. Do you think that they would care if Mike Pompeo had top-secret intelligence on servers? You think maybe they would link that to President Trump? Well, they didn't with President Obama. And President Obama stated, he didn't know his own Secretary of State had servers for 4 years with top-secret intelligence on them. Of course he knew. Of course he knew. What was a lie that was as critical to national security as that Trump told? Or President Obama's speeches and why he engaged in the NATO intervention. That was a bigger catastrophe and debacle than anything that happened during President Trump's administration, but everything was his fault. Now they're looking at Andrew Cuomo. They didn't look at Andrew Cuomo the past year. And we knew what he was doing in New York. He was running that state into the ground, and God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. But my point is, Lindsey Graham is dreaming. He has 1 foot in the populist world, 1 foot in the rhino, Republican in name only, never Trump world, and he is what he is. He turned on President Trump, but he's interestingly enough the type of person that Trump needs to form an alliance with, which he kind of did, but you need a Republican Party to back Trump, not investigate him based on a dossier purchased by Clinton. You need a Republican Party to actually defend a Republican president. Now, Trump should never have insulted LeBron James or NFL athletes. There was no purpose in that. It didn't do the country any good. It didn't do him any good. It overshadowed all of his accomplishments. President Trump allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. The link is below in the description section. I back up everything I say. You can't be a horrible, bigoted person if you do that. The rebuttal is, well, you can. Yeah, you could. I guess you could, but that's not what really horrible people do. See, Trump is judged by his words, not his actions. Biden is judged by his words, not his actions. In life, you judge your husband, your wife, your family, your friends by their actions. So, the people in your life, for example, if you have friends or family that put politics above their bond with you, that's a character flaw within them. And they're probably doing you a favor if they were to put politics ahead of you. Because they're letting you know, hey, don't trust me. I'm not to be trusted. Or, you know what? If it wasn't politics, it would have been something else. And the way I grew up, I judge people by, who they are inside and the content of their character. And if, for close friends and family, or friends I consider family, my bond with them spans far beyond politics. But again, what does that have to do with Trump, he's not judged. So I judge people by their actions, not by their politics or religion, or they used to never talk about politics and religion. Now it's become this moral obsession because people are they're programmed by media to view Trump as a tyrant, even though it's Biden who helped start mass incarceration and helped push a NATO intervention and voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. It's Trump who presided over the Abraham Accords, peace between Israel, UAE, Bahrain, Morocco. Really amazing things. First president to step foot in North Korea. So, I guess the correlation I'm trying to say is I judge people by their actions, not by words, not by their political affiliation or their. So you have these. And it's interesting because I know the type of individual, they're morally superior. They're on a crusade. How dare you like Trump? He's horrible. And that says something about you as an individual. It's well, yeah, what, you're against the fact that he allocated more funding to HBCUs and made the funding permanent? You're against that? No, I'm against his words. You mean on Twitter? Who cares about that? I mean, granted, President Trump shouldn't have said a lot of things. But you care. So you're okay with President Obama literally engaging in an intervention, NATO intervention, that turned a country into a failed state? Nobody's talking about that. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. I'm not focused on that. You win some, you lose some. That's their mentality. I'm focused on words and public relations. Well, if that's the case, then I guess, you live your life based on the sentiments of morally superior apoplectic liberals. Fantastic. And you just wait till they turn on you. It's like Twitter is a nightmare. Like, I'd rather watch The Exorcist in a haunted house forever than go back on Twitter. I haven't had Twitter for 3 years now. It is the worst place, but it's like they have social media Democrats. And so with Twitter, your ideas don't even have to make sense, and they'll still gain traction if you're on the left. That's why, you have these absurd ideas that I won't talk about, but a whole bunch of absurd ideas that only gain traction in the United States, and not even all Western countries, but it's like the rest of the world is like, the rest of the world's not on Twitter. So, and these ideas prop up Biden's administration and the Democratic Party, and that's why without Twitter, the Democrats don't really exist. Without Hollywood, Twitter, intel operatives that set up Trump, you have pretty much every, when people say, it's interesting too, now that I'm all over the place, people say, you have these older punk musicians that, many of them support Trump, but some of them don't. And that, they're against Trump. But my whole thing is, you have rock and roll musicians that, and my thing is what is more punk? What is more rock and roll than President Trump? And I say this because when was the last time the FBI director and a director and producer in Hollywood and when was the last time you would have both of them on the right side of history? When they say Trump's on the wrong side of history, it's well, have you done any research on these wonderful intelligence agencies from the Bay of Pigs to the Gulf of Tonkin to... It's look at the people who you have, the people who run the Democratic Party, Hollywood celebrities, and intelligence operatives. Do you think they're on the right side of history? Knowing the immorality and the criminal behavior within Hollywood and within the intel community and among many journalists that just want to foment division because it sells. You think they're all on the right side of history? You think that you're on the right side of history because you believe a dossier, or you believe that Trump worked with Russia and Putin when the Cold War's been over for 30 years and even President Obama said, yeah, it's already over? That's when it was convenient for them to think rationally for a moment. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Lindsey Graham doesn't know what he's talking about. The man is of the mindset that one day we'll just have a Republican that's palatable. And it's these never-Trumpers vote alongside Trump 90% of the time, literally, according to 538's vote tracker. So their problem with him is his personality, but they never backed him up, and they never defended him. And yes, Trump shouldn't have acted in the way that he did in many cases, but it's the man has been besieged and constantly investigated for nothing. The Clintons were actually investigated for four legitimate controversies. They had to buy dossiers to investigate Trump. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Lindsey Graham laments about the future of the Republican Party. It's well, why don't you defend Trump for once in your life? Maybe you'll actually become an opposition political party. We've had one-party rule since 2008. Literally one-party rule. I shouldn't say that, like, President Trump's administration achieved great things, but in terms of discourse and dialogue and debate and discussion, we've had one-party rule in this country for, since 2008, for 12 years. Republicans never offer a different vantage point. Trump does. That's the big problem. And Trump's vantage point is rooted in a populist message that Bernie Sanders voters in 2016 at least could get behind. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Thank you. I'll be back numerous times today. Tell your friends about this.